Welcome back to another podcast episode. Today, we're going to be doing a coaches roundtable. I've got coaches Clara, Carly, Greg, Zach, and Rachel on the call today. The goal of the conversation is to help you understand why things often go off track and what actually needs to change in order for this upcoming year to look different if things did not go the way that you expected. So, kick things off here. From what you guys see year after year, why do you think New Year's resolutions tend to break down so early? And what do you notice is different about the clients that do actually end up sticking with their goals and finding success?
I think the reason why, these resolutions tend to fail rather quickly is just because a lot of people are relying on that motivation, I think, to begin with. They're motivated. I see. They're motivated after Christmas to really get the ball rolling on their goals. And as soon as they start working at it, it's maybe a little bit harder than they realize. And the results maybe don't come as fast as they had hoped or had wanted. And I think that's when their motivation tends to start dropping off. And because of that, they have nothing else to rely on. They didn't really build up too much discipline. Maybe they don't have certain plans in place to help them, stay accountable and keep going. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people lose that momentum rather quickly and then end up, failing on those initial goals.
I agree. I think pointing out the motivation part is big for people because people have this concept that motivation is the driving factor for like what gets you up every single day, what has you seeing success. And time again, we have these conversations with clients and we talk to people about how it truly is not motivation. People need to stop thinking of it as something that is like static in your life at all times. Motivation is quite literally just a feeling. It's an emotion, just like anything else, like anger, happiness, sadness, and it will ebb and flow throughout your fitness journey and in other areas of your life. And if you rely on it, that's where you're going to constantly see those like surges where, things are going great and then things go not so great. Oh, things are going great. And you'll never have that level of consistency in your health and fitness because you're just relying on something that cannot be a constant. But what is a constant is building up that discipline for people. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think kind of like going off of that as well, one feeling that people chase is intensity come January. And so say, for example, that someone has a fat loss goal, they want to lose around 20 pounds. Typically what people will do is they'll think, okay, how can I get from point A to point B the fastest, the most intense? Like, I just need to lose this 20 pounds. I will do everything until I get there. And they don't actually think about what happens after the fact. And so that's why we focus on longevity with our clients. And we also focus beyond just a deficit and just a fat loss phase, because once you achieve that 20-pound fat loss, then what happens? And this is when you see people regain the same weight year to year. They lose it, they gain it, they lose it, they gain it, they yo-yo diet because they can commit to something intensely for a short period of time, but without actually taking the time to build consistency and build habits and build routines that are going to be able to allow you to sustain that progress, you're ultimately just going to keep failing and just keep repeating the cycle over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with having intensity at certain phases of your health and fitness journey, but you also need to recognize that consistency is a really big component that oftentimes gets missed. And it's not always just about racing from point A to point B. You have to think about what's going to happen after the diet and about how you're going to integrate your health and fitness goals into your daily life so that you can enjoy your life 365 days a year without feeling constrained to your diet.
I want to piggyback off what you said, Claire, because I think what you brought up was like a really good point about how people will think about going from A to B and they'll just like do whatever it takes to get there. So they're following some sort of system, but the system that they've set up for themselves isn't sustainable. Like it's not the right way to do it. And again, like that's what we try to do with all of our clients is we give them a system, we give them a schedule, some structure that they can follow so that they can get from A to B, but then they also stay at B and then they can go to C rather than reverting back to A. So making sure you have a system in place that makes sense for you. Obviously, someone's system isn't going to be the same as another person's. And so it's super important that you have an actual system and structure that is made for you and that you follow it and that it's something that it's appropriate. Because again, people go into January, into the new years with whatever system they know and think they can follow. And then again, it ultimately fails 91% of the time is what the stats say.
Yeah, I think like heading into the new year, it's always one goal, but not a plan in place. And a goal without a goal is just a wish. You're just like, oh, I hope I win the lottery. Like, how am I going to get there? Those steps are the most important part. You need those stepping stones or it's not going to work. And that's why it gets just so overwhelming at the start of the year, because all of a sudden you've been doing nothing and now you're going to the gym 5 days a week. You want to hit 12,000 steps. You're getting your meal prep. And then you're like, whoa, I cannot do all this. This is so overwhelming. And it doesn't suit you and your lifestyle. Maybe you're a busy mom, you're working full time as well. That system does not work for you and it's not going to be sustainable. And that's why it's so easy to just take the back burner when the going gets tough. Like anyone, if we all do too much too soon, we're going to burn ourselves out and we can't keep with that. So that's why that plan is so important. So yes, set that goal. That's absolutely great to have. But how are you going to get there? And that's exactly what Greg said. That's what we help you with, that we are going to make it custom to you. Like if you are that busy mom, that full-time working mom, how can we get these little things in place? And those small habits are often overlooked because those ones are going to be those building steps. You are slowly building that house every day, every week, doing those little things. And it doesn't have to be that intense all at once. So just getting really clear with your goal and how you are going to get there. So I'm kind of looking at your week as a whole, looking at your accountability system, who is there to support you through this. Like it's always a good time to check in with your loved ones and be like, look, this is what I want to do. I need your support. Like, can you help me when I am having a tough day? Like tell me to keep on going, or even maybe we'll do meal prep together. Can we go for walks together? Those things can really help as well. So you're not on your own.
I'll throw this out to the group here. So if someone's listening to this podcast right now and they're like, okay, everything they just said, they just described me. I always go into the new year, guns a-blazing. I'm always super motivated, but then I always fall off. And I want to make this year the year that's different. I actually stick to my goals. And someone comes to us. Okay, so I'm throwing this out to the group. What's the first thing that you tell them? What's step one? Like what's something that they can implement for themselves so that they have a successful new year?
Having a plan. This whole conversation has me thinking kind of something interesting about, I can't say that there's any particular time of the year that we have clients start where they are more successful than other times of the years, right? We had a podcast episode a few ago where we were talking about, starting in December versus starting January. But I think all of you guys can agree that regardless of the time of year, when we have a client commit, they are successful regardless of whether or not it's Christmas, it's January, something like that. And it's because they are committing with a plan. So for them, that's investing in outside knowledge through us. But a big part of that plan is a program that we are providing them with that has measurable to-dos. And that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with when setting a realistic New Year's resolution goal that kind of answers your question here, Greg, where they have this like really broad goal and they're listening to this like, yeah, that's me every year. Every single year I say I'm going to lose the 20 pounds that I gained last year. And now suddenly 3 years in a row, I have 60 pounds to lose. Like, what is going on? How come I can't do this? And it's because they don't have the plan in place. Like having that goal is great, but that's the first step. What are the daily to-dos that are going to get you there that are measurable? And that is a piece that obviously we take care of as the coach with their program. We're like, hey, let's make sure that you're drinking your 3 to 4 liters of water a day. We're going to achieve this because you're going to be hitting a step goal of anywhere from, 8 to maybe 12K steps per day. Your strength training programs that are measured by, your sets, your reps, your weights. We're monitoring your intensity level through form videos. We're ensuring that you're getting those workouts done, 3 to 5 times a week. Those measurable daily to-dos that get you on that path every single day.
Yeah. And I think when people start looking into hiring a coach, sometimes they don't even know what their goals actually are. Like they might have vague goals such as like, I just want to be healthy. I want to get fit. And that's not really a goal. It's more just like a feeling. just like, I want to be motivated. It's just a feeling. So when somebody applies for coaching and we take a look at what their goal actually is, and if it's not clear or undefined, like that's kind of what we're going to help them out with. Like we're going to help them define and break that goal down. So what is that actual goal going to look like after 16 weeks, 1 year? Really giving you short-term and long-term goals. And then what are the steps in order to reach these goals that you've set out? Are they realistic? Are they achievable? Are they specific? Are they clear? So by making sure your goals actually make sense, do you have a strong reason why you want to achieve these goals, or are they just something that you want to say that you want to do because it's cool? Like, do you actually have a purpose behind why you want to reach this goal? Because if you do, that's only going to make your drive to achieve that goal so much stronger. So making sure that you can clearly define what your goal is going to make a huge difference in actually being able to achieve that goal in the long term.
That why is so important. And that's often something I ask my clients when they start. I'm like, why are you here today? Why do you want to achieve this goal? So yes, I want weight loss, or yes, I want to run a marathon. Why? Is it that you are tired of feeling fatigued all day, every day? You're dragging yourself through work. You're not feeling confident in your clothes. Like that why is so much more important than I want to lose weight, because that's the one that's going to get you up off the couch and get you to the gym when you don't want to go. When you're like, oh, I'd much rather just stay and have a cozy night in. You're like, that's not going to get me to my goal. Like your actions need to get you there, of course. But yeah, why? Like I want to feel more confident. I want to feel energetic again. Like that is going to be the drive that gets you up off the couch instead of just motivation.
I think it's even wise to set like smaller goals within the journey of reaching that big goal too. So it doesn't feel like it's always so far away. So that way you have almost like little checkpoints to reach. And so, you maybe set your big goal and then you almost like reverse engineer it along all the way back to like, okay, what's the first thing I need to do in order to reach this checkpoint? And then you just get these little wins along that journey. And I think that helps keep the motivation up, because it actually feels like you're making progress, not just, oh, I'm still not there yet. I think that can go a long way, along with obviously having that strong reason why.
I think when you're trying to do it on your own and you don't have a lot of experience with seeing results, you might not even know what your potential is, or you might be second guessing everything that you're doing. So when you do work with a coach, like the coach is going to have experience by working with hundreds of other clients before, and they've already got that blueprint in place. Plus, they've got the trained eye to see if you are making progress week to week, month to month. When you're trying to do this on your own, it can sometimes, like, your mind is going to play tricks on you. So I think that is another reason why I think a lot of people don't see success within the first couple of months and end up falling off, because they're like, everything that I'm doing, like I'm working so hard here, but nothing is changing. Like I'm eating so healthy. I'm training so hard. I'm running more than ever, but I still weigh the same. And I don't know why. So it's not always about doing more. It's about making sure you're doing the right things to make sure that they are in line with that goal.
Yeah. And oftentimes people, especially around January with intensity, they think about everything that they need to restrict or deprive themselves of, or how hard they need to work and how they need to be doing the most. And I really like to think about it the opposite way. And it's a big mindset shift to focus on, like, what can I add to my nutrition instead of take away, right? Like, how can I add more protein per meal? How can I increase my fiber intake on a day-to-day basis? How can I make my meals more satiating by making them more balanced and rounded? Things like adding water, adding going for a walk, adding 3 to 5 workouts a week instead of 7 a week or something like that, right? And so just trying to think about your health and fitness journey, adding and enhancing to your life instead of taking away from it, that's going to allow it to stick a lot more, because it's going to be something that's more feasible for you to have that longevity with, instead of, again, just thinking about how intensely you can go and how restricted and deprived you need to be, because that is something that nobody really wants to do, right? It creates this negative kind of mindset around health and fitness.
I like that perspective, and it makes me thinking about our coaching programs in relation to people having New Year's resolutions. What do you guys think is to you one of the biggest things about our program specifically that keeps our clients going past that February point? What do you think it is about what we do in our programming that keeps our clients successful past that point?
I think the training is important, the habits, the steps. I think that's all important, but I think actually having a coach and having the accountability is what makes or breaks someone's success. And I think it's because, like, again, we have the experience working with a bunch of other clients and we've been doing this for a really long time. But I think what we do uniquely is, like, we can point out things that the client wouldn't necessarily notice on their own. Like, again, like I was doing a check-in yesterday with a client who mentioned that when they were on vacation or whatever, they were on a work trip or something like that. And they mentioned that they were thinking about their water and they were thinking about their protein while they were away. And then he was like, that's not something I ever thought about beforehand. And I pointed that out and I was like, hey, that's like a big behavioral change that most people may not ever realize or like come to that conclusion without us showing them that or like telling them that or giving them the opportunity to reflect through a check-in. So I think us as coaches, again, the training, the habits and all that stuff is really important and it obviously moves the needle. But I think what really makes or breaks someone's success is just having us in their corner to guide them in the right direction.
Absolutely. Like there's going to be bumps in the road, and our support is what helps people stay on that track and not go into that all or nothing approach. Like there is going to be hurdles, things will happen. We don't expect it to be rainbows and butterflies all the time, but that is where we come in. Instead of you just being like, well, I've gone off track now, I'm after eating McDonald's and whatever all weekend, there's no point continuing. That's where we jump in and we're like, okay, well, there's something going on here, first of all, that we can learn from. And what is this pattern? What has happened? Was it that you went into the weekend without a plan? What is it? Like kind of deep diving into that. And then of course supporting you, being like, it is okay. Like we are human. Now we're going to get back on track. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I think understanding that is always such a big thing, because mindset is going to be big. Like you're going to be so hard on yourself at times. You're going to be like, I'm not seeing progress. I'm not doing this. And we're going to be like, well, actually, will you look at how you have changed your whole routine since January 1st? You are going to the gym consistently. You are meal prepping consistently. Yes, maybe the scale hasn't changed yet, but are your clothes feeling better? That's where we come in to point all those things out and just really help you on those down days. And of course, to celebrate the wins, but down days in particular, because that is where people fall off when the going gets tough, going into the all or nothing mindset. But we're here to point you in the right direction and teach you along the way.
Yeah, we really just we really try to provide just confidence in the person's journey. So that way they know that what they're doing will in fact move them forward. And we also give them clarity on exactly what they need to do in order to reach their goals. And that just makes it a lot easier for them to actually just take action. Whereas if someone's doing this on their own, they don't really know if what they're doing is going to help them. And that gives them less confidence in what they're doing. And it makes it far less likely that they're actually going to stick with it because they don't know if it's going to work. It's really hard. So like, how long can they stick with that until they either quit or maybe succeed? But I think with having a coach, having someone support you, it really does give you the confidence in what you're doing is actually going to move you forward. And you have the clarity on your journey and knowing that like, okay, if I continue to do this, if I continue to work with my coach, I certainly will reach my goal. It's literally just a matter of time.
I was going to say what we do with our coaching is everything is customized. So there are other programs that you can get out there where everything is a cookie cutter plan that you just follow. And it's totally up to you if you want to work out that day or if this workout program is even going to work for you. What we do is everything is customized for your lifestyle, schedule, and goals. So if you're a mom, your program is going to look a lot different than a competitor's program because everybody's life is different. So if you've got different stressors, you have different responsibilities, you have different amounts of time that you can dedicate to your fitness each day, it's going to look different. I think that way it makes it more realistic for each individual person because you're not just following a cookie cutter program that is just not realistic for your specific lifestyle.
I agree. And I think that's what does set our type of coaching that we do apart. Because yeah, someone can buy a cookie cutter plan or they can go to the gym and follow like swipe workouts, follow recipes that they see online. They might lose a little bit of weight. They might see some progress. It's not that you're never going to see progress if you don't hire a coach. That's not the case. But the likelihood of you achieving your goal is obviously much higher when you do have a program. And I think a big part of what helps our clients be successful, kind of looping back to what Clara was saying towards the beginning of this episode, where we coach for the long term. Like, we coach for you to get from point A to point B, but also what to do after that. And that's the piece that's lacking when you do cookie cutter programs, when you are just focused primarily on how do I lose 20 pounds the fastest in the next 2 months type of thing. Whereas with our clients, we're giving them the tools, the resources, the skills, providing them with the feedback and accountability to do what Rachel was saying, that bricklaying, where they're building up that skill set, so that once they reach that point, then we can help to transition them to what does life look like post diet? How do I maintain this? And that's a big part of what we do with our coaching, is helping our clients not only get the results through the program, but have it be sustainable so that they're able to sustain those results long term and continue to raise the bar, achieve goals throughout the rest of their life because of what they gained in this program.
One thing that I wish I would have done a lot earlier in my fitness journey was hire a coach way earlier on, because I tried to do these things myself for at least 5 years before I actually started seeing the results that I wanted to. If I would have hired a coach way earlier on, I would have saved myself so much time.
I think that the app that we use with our clients has a lot of benefit for people, because one mistake that people make is they're often focusing on just one variable, like just nutrition. And they're missing all of the other factors and variables that matter when it comes to hydration, steps, workouts, sleep, supplementation, stress management, all of these different things. And so, our app, we have the ability to program these habits and put these systems in place for clients to be able to have a daily checklist, to be able to have a calendar view. Also, being able to measure progress in a multitude of different ways has so much benefit for people as well, because it opens their eyes to how progress does not just happen on the scale. Even with just the scale itself, the way that we have our clients track their daily scale weight, we're able to have a look at the trends over time, and we're able to identify, why the scale was up a little bit this day, or why it was up a bit this week, or hitting a new low, or, the scale might be up a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, we're still trending in the right direction, things like that, right? As well as being able to post photos, post measurements, checking off habits to have a look at overall consistency for people, because sometimes people will say, I am doing everything I can and I can't see progress, and I'm not seeing progress. And as a coach, we can have a look at the last couple of weeks in their app and be like, you haven't been hitting your nutrition goal. You've been inconsistent with steps. You haven't been sleeping well, things like that, right? So really being able to utilize that system has so much value, because you're able to look at things as a whole instead of just kind of cherry picking one variable or one factor and then forgetting about everything else.
I agree. Even if it's someone who, excuse me, doesn't have a coach, I think that for people to have a system in order to have the best shot at being successful in achieving your New Year's resolution, it would be having that way to accurately measure your progress towards your goal throughout that time it takes you to get there. Because if you aren't, whether that's a calendar notebook that you have at home, whether you find a separate app, our app is great, but you obviously have to have a coach, which is preferred. But if you're doing it on your own, anywhere, even in your notes app, or you're tracking these types of things, that your weight, you hitting your steps, taking photos, because it's so easy to think that you aren't progressing towards your goal. And that's one thing that we can do as a coach, because I've definitely had conversations with clients who are just feeling frustrated. I'm not seeing the progress that I wanted to see. And then, in their check-in, I open up their app and I do exactly what you just said. I'm like, girlfriend, you have been trending down in weight since we started. Your pictures are looking tighter, but maybe we're 4 weeks in and we are 5 pounds down. And that client just had an expectation of her progress being that high intensity level, which wouldn't have been sustainable for her. So it's also kind of like bringing them back down to earth and be like, this is sustainable, healthy progress from a coach's perspective. This is fantastic. You're losing over 1 pound a week. You're being 80 to 90% consistent. Like, this is going to move the needle. And like Zach had said, you are going to get to your goal. It's just about the time it takes to get there. So definitely having that system in place in order to track your progress towards the goal is really helpful for people. Most of us are visual, right? So to be able to see that is just like one little system that you can have in place that gives you that daily motivation to fill out the app, fill out your calendar that you have. And not having that is just, like Rachel said, it's just a wish. It's just a thought in the wind. Like, it's not going anywhere unless you take action and do something physical with it.
Awesome. So to wrap this up, New Year's resolutions don't usually fall apart because people don't want it bad enough. They typically end up falling apart because things aren't realistic. They're not looked at it from a long-term perspective, and relying on motivation and setting vague goals doesn't usually work out when curveballs come your way. The clients that typically end up doing better are the ones that have structure, they've got a plan in place, that account for any kind of like facts that happen when life gets messy. So if you want this upcoming year to look different, focus on setting smarter goals for yourself. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.